Moscow. In what sort of environments do new enterprises typically flourish and succeed? It should be a place that helps an enterprise to grow, where an enterprise can realize its unlimited potential with talented human resources, where the success of a business is guaranteed. It is the Chungbuk Free Economic Zone.
Coming up on Arirang News. South Korea's main satellite sent into space has established two-way communication with Earth following the successful launch of the country's homegrown rocket, the Nuri, yesterday. 4 other satellites out of 8 are also linked up with ground stations. South Korea announces a 5-year plan to attract major private investment into tech industries of semiconductors, displays, batteries, and bio. This as a follow-up to the K-CHIPS Act that provides higher tax incentives for firms investing in the semiconductor industry and other strategic sectors. Loads of tourists, including more than 3,000 from South Korea, are stranded in Guam after the powerful typhoon Mawar smashed into the island. While tourists struggle to find places to stay, Guam is working to reopen the airport within the next week. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We begin with South Korea's main satellite, now in space, that was on board the country's homegrown rocket, the Nuri. The nation's science ministry has officially confirmed that the satellite has established two-way communication with Earth. 4 other payloads out of 8 are also linked up with ground stations. Our Kim Jung-sil has what this means and what comes next.
South Korea's first homegrown space rocket, the Nuri, transported 8 satellites into orbit on Thursday. The nation's science ministry confirmed on Friday morning that communication has been made successfully with the main satellite.
On the day of the launch at around 7:58 yesterday, the initial communication with the next generation satellite 2 was successfully made at the first attempt, followed by 7 additional communications at dawn today. Also, we have checked and confirmed that the functions of the satellite, including the transmission and reception system, command and data processing system, and the power generation system of the solar panel are all operating normally.
As for the remaining satellites, the general director said that communication has been made with 2 out of 4 CUBE satellites developed by the Korea Astronomy and Space Science Institute and 2 of the 3 developed by Korean companies. That's 5 out of 8. The general director said that given the characteristics of the CUBE satellites, it could take a few days until communication is made with the remaining 3. As for the next generation satellite 2, that was considered to be the most important passenger on board Nuri, is operating as intended.
The main technology on board the next generation satellite 2 is called synthetic aperture radar, or SAR. This is a payload that allows us to observe planet Earth day and night, even if it's cloudy. So it's our top mission to verify that the technology is functioning.
Other challenges include measuring the amount of radiation near Earth and also verifying other core space technologies. We asked him what the future may hold with this technology.
What we are hoping is to use the technology in the future to conduct research on Arctic sea ice. For example, if we expect that the change in the Arctic sea ice may influence countries around it, we can use the data to warn them or to predict future climate change.
The next generation satellite 2 still has years to prove itself, but if all goes well, we may have taken a step toward in getting key information on climate change. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
And Korea's significant milestone in space exploration made headlines around the world as well. For more, here's our Peunji.
News outlets across the globe assess that Nuri's successful delivery of satellites into space marked a significant milestone in the country's space program. The Associated Press said the launch boosted South Korea's hopes of catching up with Asian neighbors, such as China, Japan, and India, in a regional space race. It also added that many experts say Thursday's launch will also help the country accumulate technologies needed to operate spy satellites and build long-range missiles. Reuters also called the success a breakthrough in South Korea's ambitions to compete in the space race with its Asian neighbors, and said Nuri is central to the country's ambitious plan to boost progress in 6G networks, spy satellites, and even lunar probes. Meanwhile, Bloomberg said that the mission shows South Korea has the ability to send satellites into orbit from a homegrown space vehicle, as previous launches used rockets from other countries. It also mentioned that Nuri is about 12 stories high, slightly smaller than France's Ariane 5 rocket. And France's international news agency AFP mentioned that more than 200,000 viewers watched the live stream of the launch on YouTube. Al Jazeera, the international news network of Qatar, also reported the three-stage rocket is South Korea's first domestically built space launch vehicle, using only South Korean rocket technology, and that 3 more flights are expected by 2027. 배은지, Arirang News.
South Korea has unveiled a 5-year plan to strengthen the nation's semiconductor, display, battery, and bio industries. This as a follow-up to the K-CHIPS Act that provides higher tax incentives for firms investing in the semiconductor industry and other strategic sectors. Our Lee Soo-jin has the details.
South Korea is heightening efforts to strengthen the country's advanced strategic industries. And to do so, during a commission meeting led by Prime Minister Han Duck-soo on Friday, the government unveiled its 5-year plan. The new plan has 4 main goals: encouraging private investment, strengthening technology, increasing capacity, and fostering experts. A similar plan was announced last August, specifically for semiconductors, one of Korea's key export items. The government also plans to first create policies that will lead to a private investment of more than 500 trillion won, or around $380 billion, combined in semiconductors, displays, secondary batteries, and bio by 2027. This includes target investments of around $250 billion in semiconductors and $47 billion in displays. Various incentives will be given too in order to encourage investments from private companies. This comes following the passing of the so-called K-CHIPS Act earlier this year, where tax credits for larger corporations investing in the country's strategic industries, such as semiconductors and secondary batteries, were upped from 8% to 15% and 16% to 25% for smaller companies. The government has also earmarked around $3.4 billion for research and development and will create specialized complexes for the development of high-tech materials, parts, and equipment, with more details, such as where they will be established, to be announced in July. The measures also include fostering experts by supporting graduate schools. Some of the nation's top universities, such as Hyundai University, UNIST, and KAIST, have already been designated as graduate schools that specialize in semiconductors. A total of 45 billion won, or roughly $34 million, will be provided to these universities over the next 5 years, with the goal of having more than 1,500 graduates in the master's and doctoral programs. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Apparently, with the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act in mind, South Korea's Hyundai Motor and LG Energy Solution inked a joint venture to build a battery plant in the U.S. It's likely to jack up the automaker's EV production capacity in the United States. Our Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
Hyundai Motor and LG Energy Solution are embarking on a $4.3 billion joint investment plan to build an electric vehicle battery plant in the United States. The 2 South Korean firms confirmed on Friday that the factory would be a unit at Hyundai Group's EV production site currently being constructed in Georgia and would be operational by the year 2025. The batteries made would produce roughly 300,000 advanced electric vehicles a year. Their shared investment comes on the back of the Inflation Reduction Act, which states that EV batteries must contain a specific amount of minerals sourced in the United States or countries with free trade agreements with Washington. The act also provides tax credits to buyers of EVs assembled only in North America. Hyundai Motor is taking a step towards stabilizing its market share in the US with this latest venture. This is Hyundai Motor's second joint project in the US, having confirmed the build of another EV battery plant in Georgia with battery firm SK On last month. And with this latest announcement, LG Energy Solution will have a total of 8 factories in North America, the most among all global battery firms, thanks to joint investments with global auto companies such as Honda, Ford, and now Hyundai Motor. With the continued win-win collaborative investments between electric vehicle and battery firms, the electric battery market in the US is showing exponential growth. According to market research company S&E Research, the market is due to grow at a yearly average of 63%. Demand for electric vehicles in the United States also continues to grow. According to research firm Cox Automotive, sales were up by 45% on year in the first quarter of this year. South Korea's auto exports to the US also jumped by over 50% on year last month, driven by the popularity of electric vehicles. 문혜련, Arirang News.
Recent data show that job growth in South Korea remained sluggish in the fourth quarter of last year. According to Statistics Korea on Friday, there were a total of more than 20 million paying jobs in South Korea during the October to December 2022 period, with 491,000 more jobs compared to the previous year. That was the smallest growth since the fourth quarter of 2021. More than half of the people who found employment in the Q4 were aged 60 or above at 284,000, while only 36,000 were in their 20s. Over in the U.S., White House officials and Republican negotiators are moving closer to an agreement to raise the nation's debt ceiling amid looming fears of a potential default. That's according to CNN on Thursday, citing 2 unnamed sources. Reportedly, the debt ceiling would be raised for 2 years while also capping federal spending, except for defense and veteran spending. But the agreement is yet to be finalized, with Democrats and Republicans holding differing opinions, especially on work requirements for social safety net programs. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has warned Congress of potential default as soon as June 1st if it does not act. In Guam, thousands of travelers, including those from Korea, have been stranded after powerful Typhoon Mawar battered the island. Officials are working on recovering the flooded airport, possibly by the 30th. Choi Min-jung reports.
Some 3,000 South Korean tourists are left stranded in Guam after the island was struck by the powerful Typhoon Mawar. The local airport was forced to close and ground all flights as the Category 4 typhoon slammed the island on Wednesday. It is the first Category 4 typhoon to hit Guam in 20 years. A diplomatic official said most of the 3,200 Korean travelers unable to return home are currently staying in hotels. There have been no reports of injury. However, the situation is said to be difficult due to power outages and damaged water supply. Although the storm has passed, the big worry is when travelers will be able to return home. Citing local authorities, Seoul's Foreign Ministry on Friday announced that Guam is working to reopen the airport on the 30th, this coming Tuesday. Authorities in Guam on Thursday had previously said the airport will be closed until Wednesday, the 31st. The South Korean government is discussing emergency support plans with its nationals residing in Guam. And due to disrupted communication services, officials are in talks with telecommunication companies to look for ways to send text message notifications to South Korean tourists. They are also planning to provide temporary shelter and cover transportation expenses when going to hospital. Typhoon Mawar slammed Guam from Wednesday to Thursday and strengthened into a powerful Category 5 typhoon as it pulled away from the island and is now headed toward the Philippines. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The Defense Minister of Japan, Yasukazu Hamada, says the country plans to hoist the ensign of the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force in its convoy during the maritime training set for later this month near waters off South Korea's Jeju Island. The announcement was reported on Friday by Japan's state-run Kyodo News Agency. It's expected to spark controversy as the ensign resembles the rising sun flag, which is seen as a symbol of Japan's past militarism. South Korea is expected to take part in a multinational maritime interdiction exercise called Eastern Endeavor 23 on May 31st, with the participation of the US, Japan, and Australia, among others. Kyodo News says Japan is expected to dispatch its Hamagiri destroyer. Authorities here are cautioning internet users to be wary of cyber attacks by North Koreans pretending to be managers of major websites such as Naver and Kakao. Lee Dae-yeon explains.
North Korea appears to have been impersonating the managers of major South Korean portal websites as part of an organized email phishing scam. Statistics released by the National Intelligence Service on Thursday show that the sending of phishing email was Pyongyang's most common hacking method from 2020 to 2022, accounting for 74% of such attacks. 68% of the hacking emails were reportedly found to be impersonating South Korea's major websites, Naver and Kakao, followed by financial institutes and media and foreign affairs and national security institutes. North Korean cyber scammers would send fraudulent emails pretending to be website managers in the hope of making the user download malware or hack personal account information through those emails. They also sent emails saying there's a problem with the targeted user's account security, duping users into clicking links. Other hacking methods include attacking vulnerabilities in security software programs and luring a targeted group into infected dummy websites. The National Intelligence Service, after releasing the report, also introduced ways to avoid these email phishing scams. They suggested people check email icons as emails from website managers use different ones from hackers. Email addresses, too, are slightly different, so checking spelling is recommended. The agency also said to put a cursor on a link before clicking it so that it can show a preview of a website, which may help people to distinguish whether it's an authentic link or not.
There are a lot of programs in web browsers like Chrome where phishing emails are blocked, as there are many cases of cyber attackers impersonating website domains. Using these programs may help you.
The National Intelligence Service also said victims of cyber attacks are now being expanded from national security officials to students and office workers, warning all internet users to be cautious. Lee Dae-yeon, Arirang News.
One of cinema's biggest events is currently taking place in the southern French city of Cannes. The annual Cannes International Film Festival kicked off on May 16th. This year, there are no Korean films in the in-competition list, but there are some that were invited for screening. Our culture correspondent Song Yu-jin has the details.
Every May, the Cannes International Film Festival attracts filmmakers, actors, and critics from all over the world. At this year's festival, 7 Korean films have been invited for screening, though none made it to the in-competition list competing for the main prizes like the Palme d'Or. Those 7 films include the latest creations from renowned Korean directors.
Director Kim Ji-yoon's Cobweb features actor Song Kang-ho marking his 8th film at Cannes. In Our Day by director Hong Sang-soo has been selected as the closing film of the director's fortnight.
Cobweb follows a movie director obsessed with reshooting the ending of his film, battling censorship. In Our Day tells the story of a woman's encounter with her cousin during her stay at a friend's home. The rest of Korea's Cannes lineup this year introduces new faces and emerging talent.
The remaining 5 directors are either newcomers or making their debut at Cannes. This is exciting because Cannes will continue to pay attention to them and invite their works in the future too.
Hopeless by Kim Chang-hoon, starring rookie Hong Sa-bin and star actor Song Joong-ki, is about a teenage boy trying to escape his violent neighbors. Sleep by Yoo Jae-sun, featuring actor Lee Sun-gyun from Parasite, tells the story of a newlywed couple whose lives take a terrifying turn due to the husband's strange behavior when he is asleep. Both are contending for the Camera d'Or award that recognizes films by first-time directors. There are two student directors too, Hwang Hae-in and Seo Jung-mi. Hwang's Hole won the second prize in the last SNF category for works by film school students. And it's not just films. The star-studded Cannes red carpet also witnessed the presence of Korean stars, including Blackpink's Jennie and Rosé and girl group aespa.
With Korean directors like Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook making waves and TV shows like Squid Game sweeping awards, Korean culture has gained significant global interest. Cannes itself has evolved, with Korean content and stars taking center stage.
The curtains close at this year's Cannes International Film Festival on Saturday, local time. 송유진, Arirang News.
Here in South Korea, there's a wide variety of domestically produced beer. But in a country where grains are a big part of its agriculture, farmers are frustrated that beer manufacturers use imported malt. This has driven young, innovative farmers to create a short list of recipes for 100% locally crafted beer. Lee Eun-jin has the story.
This farmer grows a type of black barley developed by the Rural Development Administration. Once cultivation of this barley became stable, he jumped into the manufacturing of domestic barley craft beer. And for him, it was the frustration that most of the malt used for making beer was imported that drove him into the industry.
As a farmer, I started it out of anger that domestically manufactured beer wasn't made from domestic barley.
After more than 400 test research samples over a span of 2 years, the farmer successfully developed 6 recipes for craft beer using malt from domestically grown barley. He takes great pride in the high quality of the barley that he farms himself and the rich flavor of his craft beer because he's able to use generous amounts of barley.
This is actually a successful case where young farmers not only gather to produce agricultural products, but the value is added when their creativity is applied.
South Korea is a country rich in agricultural farming, and it's key that further uses for domestic grains to produce a variety of food items, including beer, is found. Going beyond the use of domestic barley and rice, there are young farmers continuing research and testing to make beer using local corn. Lee Eun-jin, Arirang News.
For this holiday weekend, a low-pressure system is forecast to bring spells of showers across the nation. Rain will start tomorrow evening for central regions, including the Seoul metropolitan area and Gangwon-do province. Showers will continue until next Monday, which is a temporary holiday. The amount of rainfall won't be too much, with about 5 to 20 millimeters for parts of central regions. Spotty showers will also accompany for inland regions of Chungcheongdo and Gyeongsang-do provinces. Thunder and lightning may also accompany at times. And UV rays will get intense again for parts of the south, and relatively fewer showers are in store. As for the air quality, we'll have no concerns about fine dust. Entire nation will see air quality standing in the normal to good category. Tomorrow mornings in Seoul and Busan will be starting off at 18 degrees Celsius. Maximum temperatures in Seoul will jump to 25, Daejeon and Gwangju 27, Gyeongju will be very warm at 28 degrees. For southern parts of the country, showers will continue a bit longer until next Tuesday. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That's all for this Friday night newscast. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and a good night.
I'm live! 저를 도와주시는 분들이
저희와 함께 해주시는 세션분들
아무리 봐도 억지 텐션 같은데 아니라고 아무도 안 하는 거고.